Hey, welcome everyone to Let's Chat into the Spider-Verse. Today we're joined by Isaac. Thanks so much for doing this for us. We're super excited to have you on here. And
Sure.
yeah, this is we're starting to learn about myself. I did a YouTube show and it was really fun and less work than doing a podcast. So I'm trying to figure out what's the best method for me nowadays because it was way easier. But podcast also has their own value, so we're trying to figure out what this will end up being at some point. Maybe we'll put it in an audio form. But yeah. So Let's Chat is going to be celebrating our it's turning 7. So we're celebrating by throwing a watch party. We teamed up with the fine folks at See Alive. It's actually going to be this Saturday, everyone. So a couple more days left. There are a few tickets available. It starts at 8 p.m. You could get all of our stuff in our social, but really fun. It's going to be an interactive watch party. We're going to watch Spider-Man with myself and the Let's Chat team, and then people will have a chat box. We'll bring people on into video, and we'll all communicate. It's going to be a ton of fun. But more importantly, we're here for you, Isaac. How are you this fine day?
It's been a pretty good day. I just had a crazy busy week. I'm taking my pilot's license in like 6 days, my test for that. So I've been studying a bunch, and yeah, it's just a lot of nerves, really. Feeling good
Where did that come from? Writer turned pilot?
Yeah. I mean, I'm even wearing a Pan Am shirt right now. There's just I'm just a fan of airplanes and stuff in general. There's a lot of aviation in the family, and just dating back to when I was a kid, it's always felt like a cool idea. Like, hey, maybe I could just go fly an airplane. So I've just been kind of dabbling, just kind of going to school on the side for it and everything the past couple of years. But yeah, it's this summer. I was like, well, there's a pandemic on, and flight schools have been deemed critical infrastructure. So I was like, well, let's just finish up. I mean, let's go real hard here over the summer and take advantage of the great weather and just do it.
Dude, it's so crazy. Like, I think I've maybe been on a plane maybe 5 or 6 times in my entire life, and like just the idea that you could just learn to fly one, it just kind of, I don't know, it's fucking cool. It's super cool.
Yeah.
Like, have you actually had to fly yet?
Oh yeah. I've got about 100 hours in airplanes right now.
What's so like? About I know that
10 of which are, about 10 of which are solo at this point. I'm still very much a student. Like these are tiny little 2 4-seater airplanes. They're not anything that's going to take a whole bunch of people from point A to point B, but it's really, really good to learn in them.
Yeah, those small ones seem scarier to me though.
Nah, I'm not all that worried about it.
No, I mean, I'm not much of a flyer, but oh, man, that is so cool. That must be the most freeing experience to do that. I think I was listening to like Nerdist a few years ago, and like Josh Groban of all people was on there, and he's like, there's like a handful of people who are like secret, not secret, but like just they're pilots as well. Like, and obviously Harrison Ford being probably the most famous. I'm trying to think of someone. I wanted to
John Travolta's another big one. He's literally got an airstrip in his front yard. I mean, he flies jets as his private aircraft. Bill Burr is a helicopter pilot.
That's who I was thinking of.
There's a bunch,
That's pretty cool. That is really cool. So I think I mentioned it before, but like, I follow you on Twitter as well, but I've been a huge fan of your work for, I was about to say years, but I was trying to remember how long it's been, but for a while, for long enough. I remember seeing your name on Cracked when for a while. You did a lot of some of my, because I love the personal experience ones that they would do, which is, if you go to I was looking through your stuff today. For some reason now, since for people who don't know, that website's kind of gone through some changes and whatnot, but they don't, your links are there, but you can't click them. You have to copy and paste, and I don't know why, but that annoys me to no end.
Yeah, that's partially just because our author profile pages don't really work. So I'll keep the links in there so that you can copy and paste, even if they're not just hyperlinks. It's just our poor IT guy over there has just been so overworked for so long, and he's got to prioritize. You got to pick battles there, really. Yeah.
When you were there, like, does Cracked have? Because I interviewed. I'm not sure if. So I guess in my head I assumed that everyone at Cracked would know each other, but realistically, you're all probably not sitting in the same room, and you're all over the country because it's a website. Mm-hmm. But did you ever work with Ryan Mezazines? I want to say his name is.
Menezes,
yes.
Yeah, I think that's how you say his name. He's all over the place. He's kind of an enigma, even amongst other Cracked people. Gun to my head, I could not tell you anything about where he lives, anything. I don't even know if that's his real name. I've not talked to him very much at all, but he's super prolific. He came out of nowhere a bajillion years ago, and he's a machine. He gets so much really good work done. A lot of stuff you don't even see.
If my memory serves correct, I think at the time, it was a few years ago when we talked, he was in Boston area, but he didn't work at the actual office. That it was right. Yeah. We had done this right before my daughter was born, so my memory is I wouldn't even quote me for it. I think I remember him talking about that. I think he worked at an office that had nothing to do with Cracked, and then and stuff like that. What years were you active there? Were you there for the Jack O'Brien years?
Oh, yeah. Jack O'Brien approved the first and only pay raise I've ever gotten as an adult. He did it kind of on his way out the door. It was one of his final acts. Just put a little stamp on that right before he left. He's a very, very good guy.
Yeah, it seems like I'm a huge fan of the Daily Zeitgeist, I kind of reduced my listening more recently, not because of them, just for my own sanity. but yeah.
For me, it's hard because we're not commuting anywhere. That's when I would listen to my podcasting stuff is on a commute. It's definitely been reduced lately.
Oh my God, huge, especially so I work at a hospital, so I've been going in Brie.
Oh that's
producer Brie. Hey Brie, what's up, Brie?
Hi.
That's one of our producers, Brianna. She wanted to be here, but she has to put her kids to bed like an adult.
Oh yeah.
She says hello.
Takes precedence.
Hi Brie. Yeah, that's good. But I noticed that too. I'm not sure if you had that experience. It was. So I mean, I've been commuting as well, but I do travel way less than I used to for work and stuff. And then I also found this thing where because of everything happening, I just been having a hard time listening to things that aren't just music. I don't know. So I still listen to podcasts, but for a while I was obsessed with doing Zeitgeist. I was doing one or two a day, but then at some point it was just I just needed to stop hearing about the news. That's so awesome. I didn't know you had that airplane tattoo.
Yeah.
We're all learning new things.
I will tell you that my plan for my first tattoo is coming up. So after I take my license, I want to get just kind of on the inside of my arm. That's where my arm would be. I'm going to get the tail number and the date of the airplane and the day I took my test. So that's the plan. November. Yeah. I'm going to get November 33 Lima Juliet, just kind of in the plane's font down my arm. And and then maybe after I keep taking more and more tests and more ratings over time, you get your instrument rating that allows you to fly up into the clouds and everything. That would be its own separate rating. And I'll get the tail number of that airplane after I take that test. The nice thing about flying is you can never stop learning. There's so many certificates and ratings, and sometime next spring or summer, the plan is to go out to Lake Havasu in Arizona and go get myself a seaplane rating just for fun. My favorite airplane is one that Harrison Ford flies. Actually, it's a de Havilland Beaver, and they have I think they have some Beavers down in Arizona. So that would be really, really cool to do for my seaplane rating.
That's really fucking cool. And I'll tell you too, I said you didn't have any tattoos. You'll get your first one. They are fucking addicting. Oh my God.
I keep hearing that. Hearing that.
And I'm not a big pain person. I'm a baby. I don't like pain. I don't like needles. I don't like any of that stuff. I have 4 and even the last one I had was it was at the time a not great experience because it was 4 hours and it hurts like hell and you kind of hate it. Yeah. There's a threshold, but then the second once it's over, you just get this adrenaline rush that I cannot explain. Within the whole time I was getting, I'm never doing this again. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh my god, I need more.
You got to do another. Yeah,
it is. It is one of the coolest experiences. So I have a feeling you're going to end up getting a bunch more. I mean, if I had the means, I would be fully covered.
Yeah,
maybe that could be a new business: tattoos on a plane.
That'd be really cool. Brianna, question for you. Are you in the AMFOT group on Facebook, Airborne Memes for Flight-Oriented Teens? I don't know if she'll respond to that immediately, but that's a big aviation group on Facebook, and it's a lot of fun. I've gotten ideas for articles and stuff out of there before, and written a few things here and there, and Cracked was kind enough to let me write a very shameless and selfish ode to the retirement of the Boeing 747 during April, and I don't know. felt really good about that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So shout out to all the other AMP spots. It's kind of the sister group to NumTots, new urbanist memes for transit-oriented teens, and it's all about public transportation. I'm part of that one too. I'm just a very public transportation and airplane. I love transportation. I love traveling. All that kind of stuff.
As a pilot, lawyer. That's it's
funny.
Yeah, we'll send you the link for sure, Marie. Yeah, my wife actually works for an organization that the advocacy in Rhode Island, but a lot of it is with public transport and stuff. So it's like it's rare that someone I talk to in this world has any care what she does. So this is kind of fun. I'm learning so much about Bree right now. This is so much fun. Oh, Bree, this is so funny.
Yeah,
that is so cool.
We'll shoot you a link afterwards. I mention it in my Twitter bio. I say wannabe pilot and train conductor. Like those are. I'm still a 5-year-old boy at heart. Like I still want to just like drive a train.
Oh my god!
Exactly what it is. Trains are real. That. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh no, I
still
have that feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
they really are. So one of
last night. Sorry about that. There's like always a little delay, so we're still learning. Like the other night, this is even geekier than actual being a train conductor. But I was talking to my wife about like Christmas coming up, and like just like if I was a millionaire, what I would really do. I was like, I don't know where you're located in the country, but like the Yankee Candle Factory in Massachusetts is like legendary, and for like their model train stuff. I was like, my house would just be. I want to get a model train village. Like I was like to the point where, and she's like kind of staring at me. I'm like, yeah, I was joking around, being like, yeah, podcast is basically. It's just for like adults who like I probably would have done ham radio if this is 20 years ago. I was like,
exactly.
I always assumed I was going to grow up and do model trains because like I got to do something. What?
Oh man, yeah, that's.
I didn't know any of those things about her.
Everyone should aspire to be the type of person who falls asleep on airplanes. Those are great people.
I can't not. Every time I go out, well, the one time when I was going to Italy, I couldn't sleep on the way there because I was just so excited about the trip and the way home. Oh my goodness.
That was how I got myself nice and refreshed on my trip to Italy a few years ago. They had we were in like second class really, and they were giving out like 2 free glasses of white wine. So I had 2 glasses of wine, and also I had about like one of those duty-free size bottles of Johnny Walker, and down to all of that, I was out like a light. It was just enough alcohol that I was not going to feel sick in the morning, but also it would put me to sleep. I slept like a baby on the plane, and with the time changes, it's 9 a.m. in Italy when we arrive, and I'm feeling bright and chipper, ready to go. Let's go see the Colosseum. Let's go get some pizza. But my family's still a little groggy from that trip. So like I was like, oh come on guys, let's have fun.
Yeah, I really didn't expect to talk so much about planes. This is actually really exciting. This is the thing I love about talking to people because is there any train next? Fuck yeah, man! This is what we're here for. I mean, sure, Spider-Verse, whatever. But there's trains in New York City. But like, as a hobbyist, aviation person, like, I guess I never thought of it like that way. Like, are there I just had this idea in my head that you had to be like a millionaire to be like a pilot person or a boat person. But I guess I know there's a whole level of blue collar industries within that. But like, so are there practical jobs you want to get from this? Or is this just, I want to be able to I'm going to assume that you can get your pilot's license, but you might not be able to afford to fly, purchase your own personal plane.
No. Well,
maybe you can. If you can, that's badass.
Yes, but no. So presently I'm unemployed. I don't work for Cracked anymore. So it's, I don't really have the kind of income where I could afford an airplane right now. But most people, like, depending on where you are in the country, depends on fuel prices, instructor fees, and all that kind of stuff. You can go get your private pilot's license for like $8,000 or $9,000. It's really not all that bad if you've got some means and some time to work on it, because you have to spend that within 2 years. You only have X amount of time to go do it before you kind of let your knowledge lapse, really. So that's the time frame the FAA imposes on you. And as for the cost of airplanes, you could go buy a really nicely functioning Piper Cherokee or Cessna 172 for like a decent one for 30, 40, 50,000 bucks. If you can afford a BMW, you can afford an airplane.
That kind of throws me for such a loop, and I find that a plane would be much more practical in my life because I don't really care for cars that much, and You could buy a cheaper car.
It is and it isn't. I'm currently training in a Cessna 152. It's a two-seater. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm not a particularly big person, and I can reach the pedals in a 152 better than a 172. And when I eventually go on and do an instrument rating, I'm going to skip the 172 again and fly a Piper, because once again, I can reach the pedals better. Most time, if you go like to any little airport in America, 9 times out of 10, if you see a high wing airplane, it's a Cessna, or a low wing airplane, it's going to be a Piper most of the time.
That's pretty cool. But like, so how do you fly after you get the license? Is like, do you have to like go in with someone, or like, is it a work thing, or it just, or are there like rentals? You could be like, I want to rent the plane for a day.
Yeah, it's exactly what you do. You walk in and say, I would like to rent a plane for a day. Something me and my roommate are talking about doing, because our birthdays are about a week apart. We're talking about going out and flying to Zion National Park, land over St. George, and we would just rent a plane from my school to do that.
Wow. That is so cool. Like, I live in Rhode Island. I actually live in the town where the airport is, and like, so like, and now, and I do drive by this one sign about getting a pilot's license, and I had never thought of it until talking to you. I was like, maybe I want that, because clearly I'm someone who can't sit still, and as a chance to get the fuck away, just to get help to get out of here. That is so cool. And then
the way my mom is phrasing it to my mom is that, like, hey, you know, you can either go get yourself a little 2-seater roadster car, or you can get your pilot's license. You get a choice, one or the other there. So
yeah,
that's what my dad's looking at in retirement right now.
That's pretty cool. I like that, because I like this, I don't know, things like that where it connects you to a community of people you may have never found any other way, and there's just stuff to do, and like you said, you never stop learning. Like, you never really complete it. Chris, shut up! What up, Chris Ball?
Yeah, here, let me pull it out right now. Turn around here. I just this year. Let me get my little card out of my backpack. I am now a card-carrying member of the Experimental Aircraft Association. So there's plenty you can do there. My uncles built airplanes in their garages. So there's always something new to learn. They both, built their own airplanes. It's the coolest thing. They're twins, and they built identical airplanes, but with like inverted color schemes and obviously their own tail numbers. Unidentified flying objects. I've seen some. You want to know?
Yes, because there's always the quote your old boss Jack O'Brien from the Daily Zeitgeist saying, if you ever want to hear some good stories about UFOs, talk to like a military pilot, give him a couple drinks, and there's especially all this shit coming out with the Pentagon. Like, hit me. What do you know?
So I was doing my first ever solo flight. They require you to do some lengthy ones. So I was doing one from El Monte, California, up the coast to Santa Barbara. And so I was flying along the 210 freeway heading north, and I'm still in my initial climb. I'm coming out. I've taken off from El Monte. So I've gone maybe 10 miles down the freeway. I'm still climbing to an altitude of 6,500. I'm at about 4,000, and I see this like reflective black thing just zip past me heading the opposite direction. And I called into the SoCal TRACON and was like, hey, something just flew by me. It might have been a drone. I don't even know what. It's definitely a drone. But the SoCal contacted me back, and they were like, we don't have any drone reports right now. And given your altitude, that's bizarre. This is my roommate back here. He's ducking
Hi,
out
roommate. Oh, it's okay if you're in it. It's YouTube Live.
No, this is Evan. He was our interview coordinator at Crack for a very long time.
Oh, hey, Evan. Thanks for all your hard work.
Experiences section. Was it Tic Tac shaped? I'm assuming we're still talking about the drone.
UFO.
It was about it from my airplane. It was probably 500 or 1,000 feet below me, and it looked like a bowling ball.
Really?
Like a black bowling ball.
So what's protocol?
Shiny, very well polished. Say again.
Like what's like protocol with the FAA or like the air? Like when this happens, is it just like we have no idea?
I don't know what SoCal did with it. But yeah, I just ignored it because I was heading the opposite direction anyway. I contacted SoCal. I did my job. I was like, I only even said something because it was in such close proximity to me. It's really your job as a pilot to send in things called PIREPs, pilot reports. So to give you another example, another time I was flying back from Santa Barbara, we saw a small fire on the side of a mountain, again along the 210. just heading back to El Monte, and the smoke from it was rising and rising and rising, probably up to about 3,000, 3,500 feet. And again, I'm at 5,500 feet, 2,000 feet below me, so it's not a huge factor, but it's still important to call that in and be like, hey, just so other people know. And pilot reports are, there's like a formal process for them, but it's very easy to call them in, and it's highly encouraged by your local flight service station.
I was really hoping that like Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith showed up with the little white thing, and no.
Would have been nice, but no.
Do you have any hot takes about all this stuff with the alien stuff? I haven't followed it too closely, but it's just so odd that like.
I did cover it briefly with Cracked in an article, like right after Tom DeLonge kind of had his "I told you so" moment on Twitter, and Harry Reid, the former senator from Nevada,
that was you.
Like,
I read that. I wish I had done a little research. That was wonderful because I was a huge Blink fan and spent many years making fun of Tom DeLonge, and kind of was wrong about that one.
All you had to do was start listening to his Angels and Airwaves stuff and be like, yeah, he knows something that the rest of us don't. He's really, really good. I actually admire the sheer amount of dedication that he's put into it. There's a lot of weird stuff out there in the world, and you should treat everything with a sense of caution, certainly. But I feel like every person in America, in probably the world even, is entitled to like one conspiracy theory that they're allowed to believe like very fully in. But as long as it's not hurting anybody, like for me, I believed for a very, very long time, and still could, that there is a Tasmanian tiger somewhere out in the hills of Tasmania, just hiding out, just chilling, doing its own thing. It's been extinct. It's been extinct since September 7th, 1936, but, I would like to believe that there's still one there.
Well, there is a TV show about it that you should look into called Looney Tunes. Lots of Tasmanian devils.
Familiar.
Yeah, familiar, yeah. Oh, that's funny. I was a staunch atheist for many years of my life, and then the shortened version of like my wife had a like very traumatic birth, and then my daughter was in the NICU, and it led to some post-traumatic stress, and then through therapy, I ended up falling into this thing called EMDR therapy, which is called eye movement desensitization reprocessing therapy. And it sounds like complete bullshit, and I would have never believed it. And it 100% works. It's now made me be like, okay, yeah, anything's possible. And some of the stuff I've learned from it too, like, there's like, you can control, I can't, but there are people, what's it called? Like you can like with your subconscious, you can control like your temperature of your body. Like there's just so much stuff about like the brain we don't even know. Yeah. So that's like Bree is saying. So like, you know what? Yeah. You know what? There's probably
anything's possible. Like Kevin Garnett, anything's possible.
Yeah. And my hot take on the alien stuff is I think some people are giving our government a little too much credit. My thinking is more of they're just finding out too, and it's not like we've had this great secret all this time. I think maybe it's more of like, oh fuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is not stuff that's been sitting around since the 1910s or whatever. We're not getting the whole War of the Worlds thing. That's nah. I think you're right. There's definitely There's definitely a lot of recency involved. We're not looking at stuff 40, 50, 75 years old. It's just not there. Because we didn't have the technology, I don't think, to capture it, even on video or anything.
So I'd love to like kind of pick apart a couple of your some of your articles that you did with Cracked.
Sure.
The one I was just reading earlier that I remember it was fun to go back, like, and one of the things I loved about like Cracked or like, well, I guess the internet in general is like, you just start to find authors and you start to recognize names and stuff. But like when and I know I'm gonna interview someone, you kind of go backwards. Rather not Cowboys vs. Aliens. Favreau's best.
No, I get it.
But like it's funny because then all of a sudden, like, holy shit, I didn't realize how much of your work I had read over these years without even like consciously and subconsciously. Just like I'm like, oh shit, damn, Isaac's done a ton. The personal experience when you did it about getting paid to take experimental drugs. When you're doing a personal experience, how does it? You have to like find someone with their experience, and like how do you go about that? Because like you're part journalist, part therapist almost, and people have to trust you're not gonna make them look like assholes.
That one was very early on. That was my original first accepted personal experience piece, and that one was someone who came to us through a tip line that we had just opened up. Like, do you have an interesting life experience? Send us an email. So I verified some of their employment documents, that kind of thing, and that was it. That was it. I first had to verify that they were who they said they were, so that we could kind of trust what they were saying. Certainly. And that was interesting for me. My sister is a nurse, and I was, let's look into the world of this very specific kind of nursing. And that one really surprised me as to how regimented everything was. But I mean, that's how you want scientific studies to be conducted. I think that it's something that might deserve a little bit more media attention even now. I mean, I wrote that article 6+ years ago. But yeah, it's something. I mean, we need a coronavirus vaccine, stat. So it's something that I'm surprised. Oh yeah. We could sure use one. And
yeah.
I mean, yeah. So I'm surprised we haven't heard more about like what life is like for the people who are going to go through these human trials and everything too. You'll see like a clip or something on BBC or whatever of just someone taking an injection, but that doesn't go into really a whole lot of detail about what that person's life is like as they're experiencing the effects of whatever vaccine they're being injected with.
And it's so one of the reasons I wanted to actually bring that one up specifically is because you helped me out big time because at one point whenever this was must have been about 5 years ago, poor, broke, whatever, and I'm always trying to, how do I get some extra money? But I remember looking up into like maybe I should do, because when I was younger I had done I've been a part of medical studies. I was born with a heart condition, so the ones I was doing were my cardiologist was referring me, so it was here's $100 and you get an MRI. So sign up. But I remember reading this article, and I remember being on the website at Brown and at some of the universities, seeing how much money can I get from donating plasma or doing a vaccine or whatever. And then reading your article, I was oh, I don't want to do any of that. And it kind of stopped me. I was maybe I can drive for Lyft or something like that instead of subjecting my body to a scientific experiments. And it's. Yeah, the thing that always struck me, the amount of regimen that comes from that.
Yeah. Did you ever donate plasma or anything back in the day? That's something I did back in college to just kind of help pay for books and stuff too. Was I sold plasma.
Does it hurt?
Say again?
Does it hurt?
No, not really.
Oh.
You feel a little cold, but it's not so bad. I was doing it. I went to college at Notre Dame, so South Bend, Indiana, and the South Bend that you saw on TV during the Democratic presidential primary and stuff. Mayor Pete kind of put out a very idealistic vision of the city and gave himself a lot of credit for things he's done. South Bend has had its share of hardships, and it still has its very own bad part of town. And that's where the plasma donation center was. I mean, I was this middle class white kid, driving his beat up little Chevy Prism down to, really kind of a not great part of town. And there's a tiny little cluster community that's built up around it. There is a gas station across the street from the plasma place where you can go and actually get the cash out of your little debit card. They have something set up specifically for that. There's a McDonald's across the street because they know that you're going to feel real hungry after you're done donating. There's people in there that they're not eligible to donate due to their health or
drug use.
Drug use. I think sexual orientation played into it at one point too.
Still,
but unfortunately, I think that's still the case.
I think that's still
at least it was in 2000. Yeah, I think it was in 2013 for sure. Back when I was doing it, and it's a pretty stringent world too. I mean, I had to drink a lot of water to get through it. I look like I'm in a reasonable amount of shape, but for some reason my blood just does not like to pump.
Same. They told me to stop coming back last time I gave blood because I couldn't fill a bag. Yeah.
Yeah. That happened. There were people that I saw who would get done in half an hour. They were very, very fast getting through their plasma donations, but I would sit there for 2 hours sometimes. It was not ideal. But I mean, they had Wi-Fi. I could pull up Netflix on my phone and just watch a movie or whatever. It wasn't so bad sometimes. But if it had been around, back then, could have. Yeah, we're half an hour into this, and we have talked zilch about Spider-Man so far.
Yeah, it's not even the Spider-Man is just the excuse to get people to talk anyway.
Yeah,
this was more fun, but we'll definitely touch upon it for a second.
For sure. Yeah, it's something that I paid for textbooks with it. That's really all it was. I mean, it was $50 a pop. Just sit there for 2 hours on a Saturday. It wasn't so bad. But there are people who really, did it like because they needed it to get by. It's a hard little thing to do, but for
sounds like a whole cracked article right there. Like there's a whole. I work in behavioral health and I'm a substance use counselor as well. So like I know like there's if it wasn't for HIPAA, there's a lot of stories I could share. But yeah, there's a lot of like seedy underbelly to like some like that medical stuff, which is kind of upsetting. Not all of it, but yeah, but I can imagine that. Maybe I just think about that because like sometimes you need that, or like it's really sad when they're like next to a liquor store. It's like, come on, man. Like Like
fortunately, in South Bend, there wasn't like anything immediately like that, but there was definitely like its own tiny little cluster. That McDonald's is something that I remember quite well. Just like parking there, going and get myself like a cheeseburger real quick after I was done donating. The one thing that I can remember that I didn't love about it was like because I had to take so long, and drinking water really helps you pump your blood better. There were at least 2 occasions where like I had to disconnect and discontinue my donations because I had to pee so bad. I couldn't sit there and hold it any longer.
Yeah.
It's kind of a waste of a couple hours, but get the job done.
Because myself and my wife are both recipient of blood donors, and it's funny. I'm allowed to get blood, but I received a blood transfusion in 1984 before they screened for AIDS, and they still let me do it. But if I was a homosexual, I wouldn't be able to because it's stupid. But do you remember? Do you remember the Ryan White story? That kind of might have maybe not carried into the future so much, but it was he was a little boy who got a blood transfusion, and they didn't scan for AIDS back then. Yeah, he died as well. There's like at the time there's like a made for TV movie. Yeah, it was. They didn't screen it. I don't know why they didn't screen it in the blood. The movie I remember watching in school was like very more about the family relationship. I don't know if it was because of the administration or whatnot, but yeah, that's
terrible. That's just tragic. Anyway, we can be sad on this show.
What else is sad? What other sad things that have you been doing for crack? That's too funny. Well, the last before I do want to ask you about Spider-Man as well. But like, how did you get into cracked? Was that somewhat like did you go to school for writing and or this is like everyone I've seems to kind of come in backwards to crack or sideways rather in a good way?
It was definitely like a weird lateral move while I was in college. I was not a great writer for a very long time, and I had just signed up to just be in the workshop. I was like, I could use some extra funny in my life, and I would pitch things. I lurked for a long time too, and it wasn't too long. I think I started pitching my second semester of college, and it was just this nice little online community. My roommate back there, he was one of the moderators in the workshop at the time, and it turns out that we had grown up like 20 or 30 miles apart from each other back in Ohio growing up.
Oh wow!
And and we're still friends to this day. Like neither of us work for Cracked any longer, but we're still very good friends. There are a few other people like that as well. So there was just a lot of encouragement back in those halcyon days of 2011, 2012, and I got my first article accepted. It was just like it was dumb. It was like ridiculous spa treatments, and it did garbage traffic. I think it hit like 400,000 or 500,000 views, which in those days was garbage. If you finished your first week of traffic under 750,000, they were like, "Ooh, that article not super successful." Nowadays, I mean, like most sites, Cracked has taken traffic numbers off the pages themselves because it's disheartening. It's very sad. You can still kind of make engage. Yeah. And that's everybody. That's perfectly normal, and I don't blame them for it at all.
Oh yeah, that's Facebook with their whole video trying to change to move an industry towards video to compete with YouTube, and like, well, we could compete. We could make a new product. Nah, we're just gonna trash everything because that's how capitalism works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook. and then that will have ripple effects to that we'll never gonna even see. I mean, it really just decimated. No. I think is that what brought down Funny or Die? I think I know it
College
really
Humor
hurt.
for sure.
College Humor. I was such a fanatic of College Humor, like in college and before college. Like
I don't think I'm revealing too much when I tell you that I was running the Cracked Instagram page for a little while, and it was very difficult because we just didn't have a lot of content that was tailor-made for it. And I would look over at the College Humor one, and they were just like getting hit after hit after hit. They were just making memes, just popping them off. And I shot the guy running it a DM, and I was like, hey, can you meet for coffee here in LA sometime? And we did. And I picked his brain for a while, and I thought we got some really good results out of it. And I was going to start implementing some strategy based on that, but didn't get a chance to. And he was very concerned for his job. He was worried that, I mean, even though the position had been created for him specifically to run the Instagram, he was like, I know I'm walking on eggshells here. Like they're gonna let a bunch of us go within probably the next quarter, almost guarantee it. And he was right. They let a bunch of people go, and he's doing pretty well for himself too. He can pop off a new social media account like that. He's great. He's very, very good at what he does.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happened of this time frame, like when we look back. But it's going to be the age of like the gig economy was for just artists, and now or mostly artists. But I think you're going to look like 20 years out, and everyone's just going to be like, like the olden stereotype of like my dad worked at the same job for 30 years, and now like, my generation, I'm 36, like. And that's definitely not happening. I'm like, look at my daughter. I'm like, yeah, you got to start figuring it out. Like, I'm probably in that phase now. Like, how do I start piecing something together? Try to make
it's not easy.
Together.
It's not. No. I mean, I've been sending my resume out to a bunch of people, and something that's come up in a number of job interviews at this point was they're like, this is really the only thing that's on your resume is like you were with one company. You're 28 years old or 27 years old. You've only been with one company for the past 8 years. That's so rare. Like, how did that happen to you? So I'm already getting that kind of response. And I wonder if, despite the fact that I held multiple positions at Cracked over time, including a position that I effectively created myself, it just stuns people that I was at the same place for 8 years.
I think that's cool.
I think it's amazing, and it's almost unheard of in this day and age too. So we'll see where like the rest of my career pans out and everything. But
I'll have to.
I don't know, man. It's weird.
I'll just send you. I'll send this to you off message. But I don't know if you know or know of Matt Sancom. He's one of the co-founders of the Hard Times, but he also started this company called Outvoice, and they're always he's been on the show, but really, really solid human being of a person. But like I was just reading something that he was talking about today about like his whole goal is like to basically take out all the shittiness of Freedom Without Voice. And since he just sold this company for $1 million, I'm like, oh, you can actually do it, but in an ethical way. So that would be. But I just was reading something because I saw his Facebook today about like people who have pitches to go to. I'll send it to you offline because I'm kind of nurturing for you writers. It might be up your.
No, the Hard Times is great. I've been following them for a while, and Jordan Breeding, who's another Cracked guy. Jordan has been, I think, with the Hard Times for a while, and they're great. I very much enjoy their content.
Oh, I think it's my favorite. It's definitely. I've talked to Matt and then another writer, Dan Kozu, who's like, I think he's now in charge of like their stuff, but he's a really funny guy too. Like they're sometimes I'll read their headlines and I'm just like, I don't even laugh. I'm just like my head hurts. I'm like, how did someone think of that?
They're super funny.
It's ridiculous. It is so ridiculous.
I like that they come out too, kind of as an ethical and not super corporate owned alternative to like The Onion, which is, I mean, they've always been the gold standard, certainly. Yeah. So it's nice to see like not imitations, but like things that are still satire, but also their own thing, kind of come out in a merge like that. Hard Times isn't the only thing.
Because I know they sold the company, and I remember I was reading Matt's post, and it was like he's like everyone who's worked here forever got like people like got insurance and back pay, and like it wasn't like he took $1 million and pocketed it. I was like, that's fucking. It's like so Bill Watterson, like the guy who won Hobbs. Like it's just so like.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. It's
Chagrin Falls, Ohio.
Yes, Oh my God, there's a great book called The Unauthorized Oral History of Bill Watterson. And
Very familiar.
oh yeah, I got to, oh boy, you're gonna like this one. Isaac looks like Chris Carrabba from Dashboard Dream Guest. That's a compliment. I don't know if you're a Dashboard fan. Yeah, I see it.
I don't know who that is, but thank you.
Spider-Man 2 soundtrack, but he's a singer-songwriter. Dashboard Confessional is an emo band, I guess you'd call them.
Okay, I'm one of those terrible millennials who didn't really have an emo phase.
He's dashingly handsome and super talented and
Thank you, Bree.
Yeah, Bree, you're married. No, yeah, I'm a huge emo fan as well. And I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, job hunting he's right. Job hunting is the worst.
Yeah,
amazing bit. Yeah, Dashboard's fucking great. I proposed my wife to it with a Dashboard song.
Nice.
Oh my God!
Congratulations! It worked.
Yeah. Oh, Brie. I kind of knew she was gonna say yes before I did it because I ain't taking that kind of risk. I was too afraid.
Yeah.
Of that stuff.
When you know, you know.
Yeah, right? or you get the ultimatum. I think.
Why buy now? Question mark.
Yeah, I think it was like, well, you're not coming to Christmas if we're not engaged by this date or something. I forgot. We joke about it, but there was something like that. But sometimes you need a push. So I do want to talk to you a little bit about Spider-Verse because we do have our event coming up on Saturday, which this is our backdoor reason.
I made sure I did my research on this.
How good is it? It's like I don't even know how to ask someone because what was your first experience seeing it? Did you go into it like knowing what it was? Like I saw a preview and I was like, oh, this is cool, and then I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it in theaters like a lot of people did. It was just fantastic. I mean, I think that's the kind of like refreshing take on Spider-Man that we all needed. I loved that they kept coming back to, okay, one more time. My name is Peter Parker. My name is Miles Morales. Like for the last time. So I think that's good for them for acknowledging that like we all know the stupid origin story by now, and like they were done with it in a matter of 10 seconds. So they even like it took a point where the fat Peter Parker is like, hey, don't finish that great power, great responsibility. Don't finish that sentence. So I liked that they were self-aware, if nothing else, too. So that was helpful.
Oh, I mean the animation. The reason we ended up picking this. Never heard that phase. Oh, come on! You never had an emo phase ball? That makes me sad.
I can tell you why. Hey, Chris, did you also go to Catholic school? Did you also have a dress code? Maybe because I'm still in it. Oh no!
I think she's talking to him, but oh man! Oh, shots fired.
I've never dyed my hair. I don't think I get to count.
No tattoos. Well, emo is one of those things that is like grossly miscategorized. Like people who like really like it, like gets like there's like the version of it that everyone knows. It's like, I'm like I get way into it. I listen to Watch the Emo podcast. I'm into that. I grew up into that scene stuff. But My Chemical Romance was becoming like the biggest band in the world by my time leaving that world. So that's where a lot of people associate with it. And I like My Chem. It just I was. Not really that way. Dress code.
Dress code and everything. I remembered listening to Hawthorne Heights for a while because they had a song called like Ohio is for Lovers or something. Yeah. And if you live in Ohio, you're like obligated to listen to anything that mentions your state. Just that there's a law somewhere. I'm sure. Yeah. So I remember it from somewhere. But then some other kids were yelling at camp one day. They were like, Hawthorne Heights is emo, like as an insult. And so I stopped listening to it.
Yeah, they weren't bad, but that song.
Oh man, I would have been 12 at the time, something like that.
I think I was in college.
Yeah, I didn't really get. Yeah, you're a little older than me. That's okay.
Yeah. I was trying to think of. Was I in college? I must have been like a freshman. I don't remember. Yeah. Well, so the reason we ended up picking this, we teamed up with See You Live with the Spider-Verse is, I met Mark, the guy. Yes, I do feel old, Brie. Thank you for asking. So this podcast had been me for up until maybe 4 or 5 months ago. I kind of teamed with the team. Long story short, kind of as a result of doing the EMDR therapy, kind of gave me this new zest for life and whatnot, and started trying to take a go at it. And then I made my first call to Brianna, my producer. And we made this team, and all of a sudden I realized, like, oh my God, our 7-year anniversary is coming up. And so for the first 6.5 plus years, I was me doing it. It was like 4 years, really solid, pounding the pavement as a hobby. And then life got really shitty and tried to quit for a few years and then came back. So it was, Brie was like, we gotta do something. And this came up. I was like, all right. And then I was like, fuck it. I don't want to be like on brand or anything. I'm like, what do I want to do? And like, I like movies, but I'm not like a movie person. Like I by no means am I like, I'm a popcorn movie kind of person. And like I'm like, what's my favorite movie? I was like, we got to either do the Muppets or we got to do Spider-Verse. And we all just agreed on Spider-Verse because it was our favorite movie.
Oh, man. Can we do Muppets next week? Because I will talk Muppets today.
Are you watching Muppets now?
So, I've watched the first 2 episodes.
It's
I need to finish
good.
Up on it. It's exactly the type of diet Muppets that we all need right now. It's perfect for right now.
It's insane. Like, it's insane how I'm a huge fan. I just discovered Matt Vogel has a podcast. I think it's called Below the Frame, and it's about the Muppet performers. I just started listening to it the other day.
Oh, if you don't understand Muppets, we're gonna get you started. We got to talk Muppets.
I know.
No, we're on SpiderMan right now. We'll do Muppets.
Well, I'm sure we'll do something again. We'll do something. I can tell. Yeah, we can do a Muppet anytime.
It takes one final Muppet aside, and this is related back to me working at Cracked. Right before Cracked decided we could no longer finance the personal experiences section anymore, I was out on an interview in Burbank, California. I was interviewing a woman named Terry Harden, and she was a Muppeteer for a very long time. She knew Jim Henson. She's worked on so many movies and everything. And I spent a good 6 or 7 hours with her and just like learning about her puppets. She introduced me to some of her puppets, and I got to see a workshop behind her house. It was amazing. I loved it. It was the coolest thing I've ever done. And then literally less than a week later, we got the email like, hey, we're not running any more personal experiences.
Oh,
like, come on. So to this day, I regret not having been able to, scramble something together in time out of the 6-7 hours that I did with Terry. But she's also been on some other very, very, very good shows. She's been on Defunctland. She's been on, I think, Theme Park Insider, I think is the name of it. But she's done a lot of really, really good interviews with people over time. She's just got such great insight, and she's just the most wonderful human being. If you ever get a chance to bring on Terry Harden or contact her or anything, she is a wonderful, wonderful person.
Yeah, I think now we're going to have to. Oh my God, yeah. Bree, the short answer of what you don't, it says I don't understand Muppets. I'll put it this way. It's the character. It's the thing people end up loving about the Muppets. It's the fact that you just end up falling in love with the character of Kermit and Piggy and all of them. And then kind of like in a Marvel, you know how the Marvel movies will take a genre and kind of wrap it around that. It's kind of like Muppets. You take these characters and they just put them in different movies and different genres. And, you just fall out of the fact that they're puppets at some point. And then all of a sudden you're just watching a great, like the 1979 Muppet movie. I've gotten to go on a couple podcasts to talk about it. And it is just a straight up road trip cop. Just happens to have puppets. And
as far as I'm concerned, they're people.
Yeah. I mean, really,
they are as real as you and I.
Then
they're very, very real.
Muppets Now is a really good place to start because it's kind of just basically like a YouTube show. Like they're like, well, we'll break these up into 3 things. Have these little. I was just watching one, the newest one. I don't think you've seen it yet, but it had Miss Piggy and Aubrey Plaza, and it had like a level of awkwardness that like was very Ricky Gervais, like Gary Shandling. That you don't. It's fucking. Oh my God! Like I find myself falling out of my chair laughing every episode of Muppets Now. I'm absolutely. Head over heels for it.
Miss Piggy is like a lifestyle guru now, and it's exactly what you need it to be.
Yeah,
it's exactly what you need it to be.
I liked the ABC show, and actually thought that it could have continued. I had some friends who interviewed the new showrunner, and her talking about what they were going to do with it. I was kind of bummed that it didn't get the chance, but I'm glad that this is existing the way it is.
Oh yeah. I'm continuing to love the Swedish Chef stuff where he's like facing off against actual chefs now. It's
my God, The Danny Trejo one?
I started learning Swedish on Duolingo during this whole like pandemic thing, and it's such a fun language. Like to say the man is drinking water, it's just mannen dricker vatten. Like it sounds so much like the Swedish Chef. Like you could really make it work.
Oh my god, this is the fun. It's just so funny that of all the things, trains, planes, and Muppets, the 3 greatest things in the world.
Oh yeah,
such a cracked writer. Like that's right there.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't know if you got a chance to read the Carol Baskin retrospective that I did, but
no, and only because I completely skipped Tiger King.
Okay,
so it wasn't your work. I just. Ugh.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So the article title was "We interviewed Carol Baskin from Tiger King." Parentheses 6 years ago, which is true.
Oh my god, I did read that actually.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
Good.
I watched one episode of Tiger King, and I hate that. I can't stand those personality types. So that's too funny.
I have a lot of thoughts about that too. But so one of the things in there is that my roommate tried to get Joe Exotic for us to talk to as well, and I think the way I phrased it in the article was, my roommate contacted a gay gun-toting mullet-haired tiger breeder out of Oklahoma, and if that doesn't scream 2013 cracked, I don't know what does. And that's very true. Like cracked writers are expected to be kind of all over the place and a little bit loopy. So I think that's exactly what we were back in our 2012, 13, 14 heyday.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think she killed her husband?
No. I think that like many people out there who are old and rich, he just disappeared. I think he did it on his own terms. I don't know that there was any foul play involved, and certainly not from Carol. With
only seeing one episode, it just made so much to me that everyone would be like, Joe Exotic is a great guy and Carol Baskin's a murderer. And I'm like, I watched one episode. That Joe guy did not seem great.
Nah, I think you have to get to episode 3, which I think is the most fascinating, even though it's the worst, where they do all this like very broad speculation on how Carol could have killed her husband. And first, wildly disrespectful, because like to make someone revisit mentally and emotionally like the death of their spouse, like that's pretty inhumane, even for documentary purposes. But secondly, like old rich men in Florida, he most certainly just yeeted down to Costa Rica or wherever he went. I mean, he's just disappeared of his own accord. He doesn't want to be found. Old rich people with money, like they can just disappear. They can go make a little compound. Robert Evans, the guy who hired me as an intern.
I love his podcast.
So he did Behind the Bastards and did like a little special episode pertaining to Tiger King. And he hit on a lot of very true points. I mean, growing up in what I call upper middle rural Ohio, like, people who have had a pet that they shouldn't have had. I mean, down the road from me, when I was like 4 or 5 years old, there was a peacock farm. There should not be peacocks in Ohio.
No.
They opened Tiger King with a shot of the Zanesville massacre and suicide situation down there that happened in 2011. I mean, it's just, you just know that these things exist. So for the world of Joe Exotic and Carol Baskin to be put on display to all of my urban socialite friends, I was like, this is normal, guys. Like it's crazy, but it's like it happened.
Well, so I actually went to an agricultural high school. So like, when my friends like, oh yeah, I didn't know Joe Exotic, I didn't know Carol Baskin, but like I'm like, yeah, I knew that world. And they're like, what? I was like, oh yeah, the exotic pet birds, like whatever, is just like it's. I mean, they say that one episode I watched, the big cat people are fucking crazy. But yeah, I remember we had to watch videos about how they like smuggled like exotic birds into America, and it was fucking nuts. That is.
Evans covered it very well on Bastards. It was very well done of him to do that and just point out like, hey, this is normal for us. Like, and Evans talks on his podcast all the time about how he wants to just like have a compound with like guns and everything and just be a recluse kind of. And you know what? That's normal. There's a lot of people in America that want to be like that, and we got a lot of land to make that happen with too, frankly.
And that's the thing that like us Northeasterners don't understand the land part, because that's like so unheard of around where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Having that much land.
It's an East Coast bias kind of thing. Like if you wanted to go find a tiny little patch of off the gridness in Oklahoma or Texas or further north, head up to Nebraska or Idaho or whatever, you can.
I love Behind the Bastards is great. That fucking Robert every time he talks, so like he'll like something. It's like, oh, surprise! I was in a third world country covering some war. I didn't hear it. Like,
yeah, he's amazing. He really is. I've got a ton of respect for him and all the work that he's been able to do. I mean, especially the stuff that he's been doing covering up the protests up in Portland right now. Big deal.
Oh yeah, I have to. I haven't been really keeping up with that as much as I really should have. But that is that knocks about everything. I think of all the stuff he must know. I'm like, of course you want a compound.
Oh yeah.
It's just like it's a ridiculous. It's pretty insane. So I thought, trying to find something. But find it. Like vegetables, nothing weird. Oh, I want to live on a farm and grow stuff. Dream.
That's like the type of rich that I think I would like to be. I saw this on Twitter somewhere. Like, I want to just be the type of rich where I have a farm and I can grow my own vegetables and buy locally and all that kind of stuff, and not have to worry about it. I think that's the type of rich that I'd like to be someday. Just maybe not John Travolta airstrip where I'm parking a Boeing outside, but maybe a small dirt strip that I can fly a little Vans RV out of. I think that'd be nice.
Oh no, I'm fully with you. I mean, my grandfather was a farmer. I worked on a farm. I went to agriculture high school.
Yeah.
I don't want to do any of that for fun because that's like a lot of work. I want to have enough money to own the farm and pay someone to do all the work for me.
That'd be nice. Yeah. I've been the novel that I've been privately working on, at least during this pandemic, and I am, let's see, how many thousands of words in now? 18,000 is about that kind of thing.
That is incredible. Well, we're at the hour. Holy shit, that was almost an hour. I know we didn't really talk.
Going.
Oh, cool. I got a few more minutes. I know it wasn't. I mean, we didn't talk too much Spider-Man, which is totally fine. Besides, it's just the greatest movie ever. Well, it's my favorite. Oh, I always try to come back to one of the reasons I love this movie is because it's the movie that makes me happy, and it makes the movie like when I'm happy when things are getting too tough, I watch it. Like when things are at the hardest, I watch Spider-Verse. When things are at their best, I watch Spider-Verse. It's just like I have this. You know what? Actually, I'm going to pull it. I brought this up to me finally. I've been talking about it so much. I need to hang it up.
Oh, whoa. Is that Miles?
So I got this. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Speaker. I just got to change my speaker. Sorry, folks watching live. Stupid computer. Hello?
Yeah. I can see it.
All right, is that better?
Yeah.
My speakers got all screwed up, but I'll deal with that later. I sang this at Comic-Con last year from this artist I love named Nate Jones, but I had this in my office. I had to bring it home recently, but it's that line that Miles has that I never thought I'd be able to do any of this stuff, but I can. Anyone can wear the mask. You could wear the mask. If you don't know that before, I hope you do now. Like that quote, I had this at my desk working at a hospital during an epidemic, and that's today. And that's why I love it. But that quote's what you're saying. Like you're like, I'm gonna fly a plane. I'm gonna start a farm. It's just crazy.
You can do it. There's so many things that anyone can do, really. It's just put your mind to it and be flexible, really. And honestly, that's one of the things that Cracked afforded, not only me but Robert Evans to do the stuff that he did, and a bunch of other people. Is we had that type of work from home flexibility. As long as you had Wi-Fi, you were good to go, and it allowed Robert to go do things like go to third world countries or go to the Middle East and embed himself with soldiers or whatever the case may be. So we all certainly enjoyed that type of freedom that came with it, and it's allowed us to do other things. My job was flexible enough that I could go to night school and take a pilot ground school at night, stuff like that. So there's, that flexibility is great.
Rachel Bloom too, my crazy ex-girlfriend, former Cracked writer.
Oh yeah. yeah, it's I'm not exactly sure what the relationship was there, but we hosted a bunch of her early videos, and we definitely promoted seasons of hers when stuff came up. I don't know how much credit we can claim for her, but she's awesome. She's just her. I've gotten to see her do live shows here in LA before too, and it's so funny. She did one improv show where a bunch of people that were like higher end improv people, which is a weird thing to say. She brought in home movies, Rachel did, of like things that she was doing. She brought one from when she was in the musical Chicago when she was in high school. And then she brought another one from when her family toured the damage of the California Northridge fire back in like 92 or 93, whatever year that was. And people did improv based on these like childhood memories of hers. It was hilarious.
That's so
her and her husband are just absolutely hilarious.
That's so great. I do kind of have to wrap up myself because I gotta do an edit.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Oh no, please! I wish I could go forever. I just left. I left my charger downstairs. Let's be honest. I don't have my room's super hot. What's on the doc? I know you said you're unemployed and everything, but like, what are you doing to fill yourself creatively and maybe hopefully lead you some sort of financial gain as well? But anything to plug?
Man, I wish. I was never very big on having huge projects because so much of my time was consumed with having to do things for Cracked, and then I've always held other jobs as well. I'm currently delivering pizzas right now to get through this pandemic, which is just spectacular. I love it to pieces. But I've been trying to keep my brain sharp on things too, and like I said, I've been writing a book. I'm about 18,000 words in, and that's been new. So that's enjoyable. It'll get there somewhere eventually. You can always follow me on Twitter and Instagram, both at NotFunnyIsaac. And yeah, it's mostly just retweets and stuff, and me talking about planes and trains and gardening and all that kind of stuff. I've been doing a lot of gardening too. Wish I could take you outside and show you my roses. My rose bushes when I got them and when I moved into this apartment, they were about knee high. Now they're up over 6 feet tall. It's kind of incredible.
It's actually true. That's how Bree and I met, by tweeting about pizza all the time.
Perfect. Yeah. It's honestly not that bad work. It's no way. I get by. Yeah. My vegetable stuff is going so good. Another personal experience. I'm sorry to keep you going like this. Another personal experience article that we failed on was I was trying to get something going about hydroponics, which is a big deal in terms of urban gardening and obviously the marijuana industry and all that kind of stuff. And we had a couple points that we liked about it too, but I've been doing countertop hydroponics. I've got stuff going on in my kitchen right now. I've got a thing of basil that just will not stop growing. It's a giant weed. I've been taking off clippings. We've got broccoli. We've got lettuce growing. We've got a pepper plant that is just taken off. I've had to move stuff into a window box that I've nailed outside. It's great. I've had so much fun with countertop hydroponics. I got my mom a kit from Miracle Grow called the Arrow Garden. So I don't know if you want to get them to sponsor your podcast or anything, but that'd be fun.
Really good,
yeah. I got my mom an Arrow Garden for Mother's Day a couple of years ago, and she has just flown with it. It's amazing.
What is this thing called? The indoor hydroponic thing?
And the one that we've got it from Miracle Grow is an Arrow Garden, AERO Garden, and it's real cool. My mom has like a seed starter tray that she inserts in it, and she started a thing of California poppies that me and my sisters brought her back from when we took a trip out to Disneyland. They just sell them at Disneyland, a thing of poppies. So mom's growing poppies. She's growing sunflowers in there because she always had these like chipmunks eating her seedlings, and she's actually got real sunflowers this year because she was starting them indoors.
Yeah, I went to
the hydroponic thing.
I went to CanaCon last year, which was like the industry of the cannabis industry. So it wasn't about pot; it was literally about hydroponics. And my good buddy Gavin's fiance works in the cannabis industry, so I got a press pass. I was like, oh, this is awesome, and it was like a way to hang out with some friends. But it was fucking fascinating because you always think of like marijuana growing like badass and stuff. I'm like, oh, it's just gardening, it's just botany, and like just the technology is just incredible. It's Oh my God. I really want to go
amazing
look
up
at my house.
Oh, do it. You can find them on sale for like $60, the small ones. They're not bad at all.
My dad just brought up some tomatoes from his garden, and we made sauce with it. And I grew up. My grandfather was a farmer, so I'm so used to like having that connection to your food. But fuck, I mean, I know everyone says it, but it tastes so much better when it travels 3,000 miles.
It really does.
It's not. I'm not making it up. It's like there's an actual.
It's a real thing. Yeah, stuff just tastes so much better when you can pick it right off the vine. I mean, I've been growing my own jalapenos and stuff, and it's so much better. I love it.
When are you starting a podcast? I feel like that's got to be up your alley.
I would love to be a guest on everyone's podcast. I just don't have this like built-in fan base anymore. I wasted my prime at Crack. I don't know how it happened, but I was just always very overlooked. I never built up the same kind of social media following or anything. I don't have a base, you know? It just doesn't exist.
I disagree with you. I bet there's more people out there. And the beauty of a podcast is if you ever choose to make one, no one's going to listen anyway when you first start off. Because like, I mean,
well,
hopefully we'll start. I'll definitely talk to you offline. We'll get you on our show proper.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel like
give me a theme. I can talk for hours. I'm good.
Well, it was just so weird. It was just like when you start talking about Muppets and then urban agriculture, I'm like, those are the two weird things I like that no one knows I read about sometimes. Like vertical agriculture, like it's like Joe Rogan without all the weird alt-right stuff.
Yeah, Joe Rogan's a little weird. I saw somebody last night walking around Glendale with a Rogan 2020 shirt, and I about threw up. That was fun. I
like him. I'm not fanatical.
I don't like him. Yeah, I don't like him as a politician. That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah,
I ate an all meat diet for a month and just had this shit for.
I don't think I'd want to see him as a politician.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, no.
I do enjoy his podcast, and it makes me want to. When I do listen to it, sometimes it makes me really want to do hallucinogenics, which we're done, but one day.
Yeah,
probably not.
Talk for another day. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm grow in hydroponics, a Miracle Grow thing in my house.
Yeah. I'll shoot you a link to it or something like that. They're great. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Very fun.
Thank you so much for joining us. Anyone who, if they hear this in the right time, Saturday's our event. A few tickets left. We just started. We haven't even plugged it too much. So I'm thinking I'll contact the people who did it. I'm hoping at some point maybe taking the audio of these and kind of edit it a little bit and make them like bonus features. We're in the growth stage of trying to thing, so we're still trying to figure out what everything is. So I remember we were on Twitter. I was like, I don't know. You just follow someone, you start talking to someone. I'm like, I got to keep them in the back of my head for something. I feel like we would get along well. Sure. So always wonderful talking, man. Have a good rest.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, this is a blast.
You too. Yeah, we'll talk again sometime. Take care.
Good night.
Bye, Bye, guys.